The story of a man named Jed began in the high, rugged peaks where he lived as a poor mountaineer. He worked hard every single day, yet he barely managed to keep his family fed. One morning, while he was out searching for food with his rifle, the quiet of the mountain was broken by a strange, bubbling sound rising from the earth. He investigated the source and found a dark, thick liquid gushing from the ground. It was oil, commonly referred to as black gold or Texas tea. Before he quite understood what was happening, the man who had been struggling to get by found himself a millionaire. His relatives gathered around and told him that he must move away from those lonely mountains. They insisted that California was the place where a man of his new standing ought to be. So, they loaded up their truck with all their worldly possessions and moved to the city of Beverly Hills. Upon their arrival, they were greeted by the sights of swimming pools and famous movie stars, quickly earning the name of the Beverly Hillbillies. Back at their new home, a spirited conversation began between the family members. Ellie Mae looked at her kin and insisted that she had seen him first. The others argued back and forth, each claiming priority, until finally, someone asked for quiet so they could hear the news. Ellie Mae declared that the fellow she had just seen was the very same man who once sold Paul Central Park. His name was Honest John Schaefer. The family was shocked and delighted to hear this. They wondered if it was truly possible that Honest John was in Beverly Hills. Ellie Mae confirmed that it was the most exciting news of the whole year. Granny, who had been resting, was stirred by the commotion. She was told that Ellie Mae had seen the legendary Honest John. Jethro chimed in, saying he had seen him too while he was driving the truck, though they had been unable to stop and talk to him because of the heavy traffic. By the time they circled the block, the man was gone. They all agreed that they had to find him. To the family, Honest John was the finest man they had ever met, a person who truly represented the salt of the earth. Jed recalled with fondness how the man had sold him iconic landmarks such as the Statue of Liberty, the Staten Island Ferry, the Brooklyn Bridge, the Empire State Building, and the Algonquin Hotel, all for the price of $10,000. In Jed's eyes, it was a real bargain. What impressed them even more was that after the transaction, Honest John had simply returned the money. They remembered their parting in Central Park, where they told him he was the nicest fellow they had ever met. Now that they knew he was in town, they desperately wanted to see him again. While the family searched, the man known as Honest John was in a different part of town, dealing with his own complicated life. He arrived at a house looking for a woman named Flo Schaefer. When he found her, he revealed his true identity to her. He was Shifty, the man she had once been partners with in many schemes. Flo was surprised and somewhat wary, asking if the police were following him. Shifty explained that he was just acting out of habit. They reminisced about their past, their partnership, and the complicated nature of their relationship. Shifty had a difficult confession to make. He told her that he had changed his ways. He had gone straight and turned honest. Flo was horrified by this news, calling him a rat and demanding a divorce. She could not fathom why he would abandon their life of crime. Shifty admitted that he was struggling with this new path and felt like he was losing his identity, and he needed her help to get back to his old, crooked ways. Flo, believing he was sick for wanting to be honest, told him that he needed to find those simple, trusting people, the hillbillies, and take advantage of them once more. She insisted that if he wanted to be cured of his honesty, he had to target the very people who were so kind, generous, and sincere. Shifty was hesitant, remembering how wonderful they were, but Flo pushed him to be ruthless and cruel. She told him to lie, cheat, and steal from them to prove he was back on track. Shifty agreed to do it, determined to reclaim his reputation as a master con artist. The family continued their search for their hero, hoping to bring him back to their home. They were convinced that he was a living saint. Eventually, through a series of fortunate events and a bit of persistence, they managed to encounter him again. When they finally met, the reunion was filled with warmth and joy. Honest John played the part perfectly, acting as a dear friend who cherished their time together. He was humble, polite, and seemed completely uninterested in money, reinforcing the family's belief in his nobility. He even managed to return some money that Jed thought he had lost, which only made the family admire him more. During the visit, Honest John proposed a grand project. He claimed he was in Los Angeles to solve the city's greatest problem, the smog. He told them he planned to drill a massive shaft through the San Bernardino Mountains and install a giant fan to blow the pollution away. The family was deeply impressed by his dedication to humanity. Jed, wanting to support such a noble cause, offered to provide the funding. Despite Honest John's fake reluctance and his insistence that charity should be anonymous, Jed insisted on helping. He withdrew over $500,000 in cash from the bank to help Honest John begin the work. As Shifty walked away with the money, he felt a sense of triumph. He had successfully tricked them again. He returned to Flo, boasting about how easy it had been. He described it as a textbook con job, taking money from people who were simply too kind to doubt him. However, when Flo asked for the money, Shifty revealed that he had given it back. The realization that he had fallen back into his pattern of honesty shocked and angered Flo. She was furious, but Shifty tried to explain that the kindness and trust of the family were difficult to overcome. He was caught in a cycle, struggling between his desire to be a successful crook and the profound impact that the genuine, honest nature of Jed and his family had on him. The story left the characters in a complex situation, with the hillbillies continuing to believe in the goodness of humanity, while Shifty remained a man deeply conflicted by the very virtue he tried so hard to escape.